Hello, everybody. How you doing today? Welcome to the Wednesday stream. Um, how are you guys doing today? Uh, I'm doing really good. Most Wednesdays recently have been a very good day. Um, because it's the closest thing I have to a second day off from work every week. Um, my only full day off is Saturday. But Wednesdays I work very briefly, so it's not really a lot, but I still technically work, so it isn't a full day. But because I have basically the day off, uh, my partner Mana and I usually spend the morning and like early afternoon together. And have kind of fallen into a ritual in the last few weeks, and it's been really really nice. Um, if you're a Marvel fan, even if you're not, I'm sure you're relatively aware of the fact that Marvel has a new Disney Plus show running right now, Moon Knight, which I was super excited for. Um, so we take every Wednesday morning to watch the new episode of Moon Knight. Kind of wait a little bit, and then we go out. Basically, just have a date day, which usually involves doing something like just like walking around the local mall or whatever, grabbing a bite to eat, and and then we stop by a local bubble tea place, and then head home before I have to run into work for a little bit. So it's been like our little ritual, our date day every Wednesday, and it's been super nice. So that was today, and it always puts me in a really good mood. So that's been my day today. So that's been my day today. How have you guys been? How's your how's your week? How's your week so far? So today, I was debating on Monday what to do. Um, because Monday was Elden Ring. Um, and it was between playing two different games. Um, neither of which is happening. I decided on something completely different, um, which I'm fine with because I didn't officially announce anything. So therefore, I wouldn't disappoint anybody. Um, but so today, I'm going to be working a little bit on a tabletop RPG that I have been writing on and off over the last about 7 years now. Uh, the thing as a whole has existed for uh 17 years now. In some form or another. Um, but yeah, some of you may be familiar with it. I actually do have another Twitch channel that was dedicated for it. Had one or two sessions of an actual play. Most of the other content on there was basically what I'm going to be doing today, which is just writing and working on it. Um, and it actually got a decently large following. But I am mainly focusing on this channel right now, and I didn't want confusion, and it's been like probably over a year now or getting close to it since I did anything with that channel. So it's basically dead, and I didn't want to like split things up or uh I didn't want to split things up between channels. Like I wanted to focus on one. So yeah, for anybody unfamiliar with it, um, uh, let's start a little further. For anybody who maybe isn't familiar at all with even what the term tabletop RPG means, if you are familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, those are tabletop role playing games. Basically you gather people together. In most games, there is one person designated as kind of like running the game, the dungeon master or the game master, and the players, and everybody is role playing. You create a character, you take on a role, and you play within the world that um, the game master creates or is running, etc. And again, also most of the time, rolling dice. So that's what a tabletop RPG is. Like I said, I've been in the process of writing one on and off since 2015. But it has existed as something in my head, and in various other forms of media that I have attempted to make it since 2005. Was I think the first time I ever did anything with it. It is called The Last Ingress. And it is a sci-fi fantasy role-playing game. It is very much inspired by things such as Kingdom Hearts. It's very JRPG inspired. In terms of like the lore in the world and just kind of like the overall feel of it. Yeah, it's sword and sorcery, medieval, like weapons and magic and fighting monsters and things like that, but in a modern setting. With those fantasy sci-fi elements thrown in. It's basically a world that has developed to a similar point that we are at as well in terms of technology. In some areas a little further, because of the existence of magic and creature and like deadly monsters and things of that nature. So yeah, that's The Last Ingress. That's what I'm going to be working on today. It's been a very long and arduous process because I've basically been doing it by myself. In terms of like the actual writing and everything on like the book itself. I've had a lot of help from other people, creative input and things of that nature. I've ran a campaign of it already. A couple other people have done like small ones and one shots and things of that nature. So it has been played. We know it works as it is. The lore is there. The big things that have been really keeping it from getting fully like published is, again, I'm essentially doing it entirely by myself, and there's a lot of things that I'm not quite happy with, that I haven't quite figured out how I want them to work in terms of like a game. So that's kind of what I use these streams for, is just kind of time to think out loud as I work, and hey, if I get anybody in here and to help as well, I kind of also want it to be like a kind of community made thing as well. I will be once I kind of get a couple things in a more comfortable position. Um, I will likely be reaching out to certain communities to ask for help. Um, so that the one thing that I was caught up on for a while as well was, I'm just a guy. Like I work a barely full time job at a company that pays okay and doesn't give me any other benefits. So I don't like exactly have the money to hire anybody. And at the stage it's at, I didn't really think something like a Kickstarter would work because most of the RPG Kickstarters I look at, they're like basically already done and they're just trying to get money for like publishing and like finishing up a couple things. So I didn't really think a ton of people would like put money in if I couldn't really show anything. But again, vicious cycle. I, you can't make, like the art and the book and the design and everything if you don't have the money to hire people to do that. But you can't get the money to hire people to do that without those things to like make it look successful. So, but I have seen over the last year or two that I was basically wrong in my assumptions. I kind of assumed that a lot of people just wouldn't work for free. And not that it would be free necessarily, but I didn't think anyone would be willing to put forth a lot of effort on a project if they weren't getting paid as they were doing it. It turns out there are other options that people are willing to do. I have a friend that's doing it. There was someone else on Reddit, on the RPG subreddit, that reached out and basically just said, like, hey, I'm working on a book. I've gotten a lot of things done, but I need some help. I can't pay right now, but if you wish to assist, you would essentially sign, like an agreement, a contract saying that while you're not getting paid now, you will get paid a percentage of the profits of, whatever the book makes. Um, and a lot of people go for that. And I never thought that would be a thing. I never thought like if I was like, hey, I need help on a book, I can't pay you now, but I can pay you later. Like, I didn't think anyone would go for that. I thought everybody would just be like, no, I'm not going to like work on something and not get paid for it. And I was just wrong. So there's a couple more things I kind of want to do on my own before attempting to reach out and do something like that. Um, so as I said, that's basically what these sorts of streams are going to be. Um, I'm not scheduling this. This isn't going to be like a regular thing. I like doing this as a Wednesday thing because Wednesday is, I go live a little earlier, but I know I'm not going to be live for as long. So Wednesday's kind of like that, like in between day where it's kind of every stream day is just kind of a whatever. I never have a fucking plan. But usually I save like Monday and Saturday for like the bigger things, like the games or whatever that could go on like for hours. And not to say this ever won't. If we eventually build up more of a community and people like these sorts of things, people like the engagement and the creativity, then great. We'll keep doing it and maybe I'll switch it to a different day. But for now, if I do these, it'll usually be on a Wednesday. I think that's enough of that. Let's hold on. My Streamlabs froze. It's been working horribly. Okay, I think we're kind of back. I'm going to get some music going for us. Some nice, relaxing. Okay. All right, so I've got that started. You guys can't hear it yet. Let me get over to the correct screen. Okay. Hey guys. So a nice, relaxing stream day, doing a little bit of creative writing, with an RPG, The Last Ingress. So, as I said, this is it. Oh, actually, hold on a second. I may need to adjust some things, because... Does that still look good for you guys? Ugh, no. Un momento. I minimized my browser, so that... Wow, this is just all incorrect. This isn't what I did at all. Okay, whatever. Oh, good. You guys aren't even seeing this. I forgot. Okay, hold on. Things need to be adjusted. Because I minimized things so that I could see chat in case anyone comes in. But that kind of fucked my display up a little bit. But I am fixing it. I'm fixing it. I'm trying to fix it. Okay. Sorry, my fucking ring light is making it hard to see where exactly these edges are. What the fuck is coming up on the bottom? Nothing. I'm an idiot. Okay. There we go. That's a little better. That's better. All right. All right, guys. So welcome to The Last Ingress. So a bit of background. This whole thing started as a Kingdom Hearts fanfiction that I wrote for a while. That was up on fanfiction.net. As far as I know, it still is. Under a different title, of course. But after a while of working on it, I kind of just came to this realization of, why am I putting in this much effort towards this thing when, like, I can't ever do anything with it. Like, I can't ever publish it, like, really publish it. You know, Square Enix isn't going to look at this fan fiction and be like, this guy's got ideas, let's hire him. You know, like, it's just not, none of that's going to happen. So I kept the things I liked, started a phase of transition to change things so that it wasn't Kingdom Hearts, so that it was my own thing. And boy, things have changed so much over that length of time, and continue to change. I just made like a major change to the world and how it works, like earlier this week, like last week. You know, to make things better overall, but to also make them work better as a tabletop game. Because again, the initial shift was, okay, well, if this isn't going to be a fan fiction, and it is going to be my own thing, what do I want to do with it? Well, the ultimate thing would be for this to be a video game. That was always the dream. And while that dream would be easier to achieve now, thanks to like resources and everything, it would still be an amazingly daunting task. And I'm not saying it won't ever happen, because who knows. But at the time it wasn't, so I was like, okay, I'll write a book. It'll be a novel series. And then that took a long time. I tried a webcomic at the time. So many different things. And then I got into tabletop role-playing games around in 2011. But even then, it wasn't until, like I said, 2015. I remember, I don't remember the exact date, but I remember the day. Like, I remember when it happened. It was like 2 a.m. I was having a bout of insomnia. And it was after a stint of watching, what was the name of it? Will Wheaton did a board game show for Geek and Sundry. I think it was just called like Tabletop or something like that. But for one of the episodes, like 1 or 2, he ran a tabletop series that I think he wrote or, had a hand in writing. And I really liked the system. It really captured me. And then, like I said, one evening, during a bout of insomnia, I kept thinking about this system and how it worked and how I liked it. And the Last Ingress finally kind of clicked. And I was like, I'll make a tabletop game. Like if I can't make a video game, if I can't write a book, like a book series, I'll do a tabletop game. That way, at least the people of the world can understand the lore of this world that I've built up for so long, and they can live it as best as possible. It won't be the exact story that I had in mind, but I didn't really care at that point. And also figured, hey, maybe certain aspects of the story I wanted to tell could be adapted into adventure modules and things of that nature. And hey, maybe one day, if it does get successful enough, I can have somebody help or go, or maybe novels can happen, So who knows? But I decided on a tabletop game. And again, that was, going on, almost 7 years ago now. I'm not going to lie and say I have been working on this every single day in those 7 years. Like I say, it's been very on and off. But I think about it every single day. This series has become very important to me. This is kind of my everything. I always said if I ever put out one thing into the world that I hope at least somebody remembers me by, it would be this. It would be the Last Ingress. So that kind of catches you up. I'm not going to go into the specifics of fucking everything. That'll be in the book. But so the system has been I keep bouncing around with ideas. I keep changing things, and I just need to settle on something. It's basically there. There's just a couple things that I want to tweak because for the longest time I felt like it is too close to D&D 5th edition, which at the time of this stream is the current edition of Dungeons and Dragons. And that's mostly because D&D is largely It isn't the only tabletop I've played, but it's definitely the one I've played the most, and it's the one I know the most. So, of course, a lot of the things in the system are similar. And this is also a relatively combat-driven system. As with anything, the game itself can be, whatever the game runner and the players want it to be. And that's a very important thing to keep in mind for every game. But I didn't want it to be so close that people would just be like, well, why don't I just play that? Or, oh, it's just another D&D clone. I don't feel like it is, but I also have mental illness with like depression and anxiety, so I have those voices in my head telling me that it is. And I think like any creative person, and again, everybody is creative in their own right, blah, blah, blah. But, like artists usually, everybody doubts themselves so much. Like, I think in general, a lot of people are never completely satisfied with a finished work. Because you're the one that worked on it. You know where all the, like, the nooks and crannies and the mistakes and the little things are that like no one would ever, like, think about. It's just you worrying about it. So it's mostly just been a lot of putzing around and just never being completely satisfied and being able to say, yes, I'm done with that. Time to move on. Very, very few things have I just been like, yep, that idea is done. That's how it works. That's how it is. I don't have to think about it anymore. So I've been messing around with it a lot. And again, maybe eventually when I do get a team together, that will help with a lot of that, to have voices other than my own, weighing in on things and telling me when I'm either correct or incorrect, or, telling me to, like, hey, no, it's fine the way it is, leave it alone, move on. It's, and the other thing I have to keep reminding myself is the nice thing about tabletop RPGs is different systems exist. If I put this out and it turns out some things don't work, some things do, people want to try it a different way, this and that, or new ideas come out, second edition. Things are a very living, breathing thing nowadays. Not a lot of things are as permanent as they used to be. So I have to keep telling myself that too. My other big thing, this right here. There we go. I have so much fucking history and lore and detail in my head about the world that this game takes place in, that it has been a process divvying up what goes into this core book versus what can be saved for a later time, for a more detailed book. Because my worry is always, if I don't put it in, they're not going to know, and it's not going to be how I want it to be. Forgetting that the entire purpose of an RPG is that it is out of my control, and it's for other people, and they can play it how they want. And again, I can write a different book. But that was a debate for a little bit too, and actually a question that I posed on the RPG subreddit to get people's opinions is, because there's publishers who do put out multiple books, for essentially the basics, like Dungeons and Dragons. It has the big three: the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, and the Dungeon Master's Guide. But then you also have things like Pathfinder / Starfinder, for example, they basically take those three and cram them into one very large book. so that you only need to buy one, and it has everything you need in there. It has everything the players need. It has everything the game master needs to know how to run the game, to know the world the game is being run in, all of the creatures and monsters and adversaries that the players can come up with. It has everything. It has everything in those 3 books in one large book. And so I got people's opinions, because I see the benefits of both. But it essentially came down to, again, what I had figured from the start and should just go with is the core book should be, as the name implies, core materials. What the players need to make a character and understand what they're making. And enough material for someone to read through and understand how to run a game. But it doesn't need everything. I think people are fine having one book that has the basics, that gets you started, that has everything that you would need, and other things are supplementary, which is fine if that's what you want to get into. So that's obviously what I'm going with. There will be another book that I will start that has, all of the lore dump that people can go through and read and use if they wish. So the choice now is what goes in to the core book and what will go into the supplementary book. I think my cat walks out. Give me just a second to open the door. Winter, you want out, baby? Oh. Fuck. Trash can! If you're out, you're out, though. I gotta close the door, honey. There you go. Actually, don't need to. Mana isn't home right now. She left for work. Alright. Is that enough chit-chat? Have I fucking... I'm sorry I'm talking so much on a stream I said it was going to be about work, and we haven't gotten to work yet. But it's a lot of background for people who don't understand. Or don't, know what the fuck I'm doing. But yeah, that's kind of my biggest catch-up right now, is just... The biggest thing I'm caught up on is what goes in the book and what doesn't. So, with that being said, I attempted a change in how the combat system works recently, and I can't remember if I put it in the actual book or not, so let me check. Okay, good. I didn't change the actual book. I think I kept all of the other things to a separate document, which I'm glad I did, because I ended up not liking it. Yeah, so essentially how, the combat system works as it is now is... actually, except I think... Okay. I am still going to change... I still want to change how the flow of combat works, because... So at the beginning, again, it was basically just the initiative system. Combat started, everyone rolled initiative, you went in the order of what people rolled. And then I switched it to essentially as it's written right now. It's still turn-based, but there's no initiative rolls. It was just the players decided who acted in what order for the players. Understanding that between each player's turn, there would be an adversary's turn. So it would always go... basically and the players could decide also to have one of the adversaries go first. They could allow something else to go first as well. But it would always essentially, it would flip-flop between sides, based on nothing besides their declarations. Which I think is still fine. It still gives the players that agency of choosing. while also allowing the in the Last Ingress game, the individual running the game is known as the story master. So this flow of combat also allows the story master to, have their strategy as well, pick and choose who goes when for, either what would make sense the best or the best benefit for, the creatures that they're controlling. Which I still like, and it's fine. But the other thing I'm debating on right now, the other idea that I kind of had, was actually inspired by recently Critical Role did an Elden Ring one-shot. And I really liked the system they used for combat in that, which is kind of what I tried to work into the Last Ingress, but as I said, the more I got into it, the more it just didn't really work with other facets of the system. But the one thing I did like that I'm debating on whether I want to include, whether I want to make this change, is how the flow of combat worked in that little mini system that Matt Mercer came up with. Was again, there was no initiative. Once combat kind of engaged, it was just, hey, what do you guys do? And then all the players went, and then all of the enemies went. So I'm debating on doing that, of essentially saying, like, hey, there are just two sides. All of you guys go, and then all of the enemies go. Again, or vice versa, depending on, surprises and ambushes and things like that. But there would still be options to do certain things on the other side's turn. So even during the time when all of the players would be going, there would still be a system where enemies could do things, like almost like reactions. But honestly, just kind of talking about it out loud and looking at it, keeping that idea in mind and vocalizing it along with the system that I'm looking at, like that I already have in place, I think I'm just going to keep what I have right now. Because it still kind of has that turn-based feeling to it. But I think, I don't know. I don't know. I think any system, no matter what, is still going to have that feeling of, like, when you're dealing with RPGs that focus on combat like this, in this genre, I just think this is the only way it can be handled. I'm sure there's a system out there that would completely change my mind. And hey, if anyone watching this knows of one, please hit me up. Let me know. Come at it, tell me, like, hey, actually, I know this system. Maybe take a look at this thing. Take a look at this game, because I think it handles what you're talking about a lot better. So to help with that, if this is your first time being introduced to Last Ingress, or you have no idea about it, a little bit more lore to maybe assist anybody in giving recommendations and things like that. So how the game slash the world works is players take on the role of a type of people that are called awakened, due to the fact that they have unlocked a potential within themselves that manifests in one of three different ways, which are essentially the three different classes in this game. Either as the ability to cast magic, the ability to summon a creature, or in the manifestation of a weapon. And with those powers, they join various organizations throughout the world that focus on training them to deal with a global monstrous threat known as the stigma. And the reason this is so important is because only the awakened can deal with the stigma. It's been shown that normal weapons and other means of harm do literally nothing to these things. So the only way to take care of them is with the awakened. So that's essentially what the game focuses on. Individual stories and things like that obviously are whatever the story master wants to do. But the largest threat in the world is essentially these monsters. And you play the people that go take care of them. So it like I said, it's very JRPG in that sort of sense. Very Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, sort of thing. What was the point of all that? With those things in mind, so you're dealing with magic, with weapons, with monsters and things of that nature, that normally do appear in groups. So you're usually dealing with like a lot of them. I also the other large aspect, the one of the pillars of design that I always keep in mind for this game is freedom of choice for creativity for the players. The Last Ingress has magic, has weapons, has creatures that you are able to control and that a player is able to control via summoning. But there are no lists of those things. There's not a spell list. There isn't a list of weapons. There isn't a list of summons. What there are for weapons and creatures are size categories. And that's it. Each size category has its, benefits and different things that they do. But there isn't, like, oh, you have swords, you have axes, you have, this and that, or, you have, fairies, and you have dragons, and you have this and that. Like, you decide how big they are, and then you decide what it is. So it can be literally anything. I've had some very creative people. Someone had a weapon that was basically like a it was a sword, but they could like click a button and it like lit on fire. I've had someone have like a Gatling gun. All sorts of different things. And as you start the game as a new player, it's very basic, but as you progress in the game, you also choose how your character changes and improves. Sorry, once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I think the system I have in mind for the combat is fine. See, this is another reason why I started doing this for like Twitch, is because I hope I can get to a point one day when people are actually here, and I can like have people giving feedback and helping, and also telling me when to shut the fuck up and get back to the point, or telling me what they'd rather, like what they would like to hear, because otherwise I'm just sitting here rambling for fucking hours and getting off topic and not doing work. Oh, excuse me. For the moment, and this hasn't been play tested yet. I need to soon. But for the moment, I like how it sounds. So there's that. But I need to make sure that this change still works with all of the other bits of the system that I had in mind. So, although the Last Ingress' combat system is turn-based, there's no strict order. Instead, once the story master declares combat has begun, players choose amongst themselves who will be doing what and when. This way, you as the players are in charge of the order in which you act. However, the caveat to this is that the side you're fighting, whatever the story master is controlling, gets a turn in combat after a player has taken their turn. This way, combat will always be player, foe, etc., until all players have taken their turn. Until all combatants involved have taken a turn. The time it takes for all player characters to have their turns is called a round of combat. A round is equivalent to 10 seconds of real time. The time it takes for all those involved to have their turns is called a round of combat. A round is the equivalent of 10 seconds of real time outside of combat. So then you may be wondering to yourself, well, what can I do in combat? I answer this here. Actions in combat. During combat instances, you have a choice of actions to perform on your turn and during the round. Full turn action. A full turn action is a time-consuming or otherwise complicated maneuver. I'm going to say activity. Taken during your turn. When you use a full turn action, it is the only thing you may do on your turn. Standard action. A standard action is the primary focus of what you do during your turn. Attacking, casting a spell, or performing a relatively important/complicated task are examples of standard actions. Quick action. A quick action is defined by something that can be done swiftly within your turn, such as grabbing a nearby object, flipping a switch, pressing a button, etc. And off-turn action. A type of action that can only be done on another's turn in response to something. You only have one per round, and you regain your off-turn action at the start of a new round. It just sounds better than something. You'll have one per round and regain your off-turn action at the start of a new round. Unless stated otherwise. Because you could potentially get more off-turn actions and creatures like some enemies will have multiple off-turn actions that they can use. So, unless stated otherwise, you only have one per round, and you regain your off-turn action at the start of a new round. Holding an action. It is possible to wait to use an action until a specific moment or condition to do so. This is known as holding an action. To do so, you declare the action you wish to hold, then determine its trigger. Once the declared trigger occurs, whenever that may be, within the encounter, you may execute that action you held. Actually, okay. I keep going. If it returns to your turn again, the following round, and your held action has not been triggered, you may continue to hold the action with the same trigger, or change the trigger to a new one simply by declaring you're opting to do so and sacrificing the appropriate action on your turn. I don't want to make it seem like you're like just held into this. You may also decide to perform another action as normal. However, this will drop your held actions. This will drop your held action period, if your previously determined trigger occurs. Determined trigger occurs. It will not trigger your held action. Does that make sense? Like, I'm trying to say that basically, like, so if it comes to your turn and you're waiting for something to come into range, let's say, before you attack, because you can't hit it from where it's at, but you want to stay where you are. So you say, okay, I'm going to hold my action to attack that thing until it comes within my melee range. Let's say a round goes by and it still hasn't come into your range. So you use that second turn and be like, I'm going to continue to hold my action until it comes within range. Okay? Another round goes by, and maybe it just doesn't move. It's not coming towards it, like whatever the situation, and you realize, like, I've just been sitting here for 2 rounds not doing anything. So then you say, like, all right, never mind. I'm going to move, or maybe something else has come towards you and you need to, like, fucking hit it or defend yourself or whatever. You're like, all right, never mind. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use my action to attack this thing or to do something else. That doesn't mean that if that other thing comes within range, then you're like, oh, my held action triggers and I can hit that thing. Like, no, you already did something else. So you may also decide to perform another action. Hold on. If you perform an action on your turn that isn't holding your action before it is triggered, then that held action no longer occurs if it would be later triggered. Does that make sense? You perform an action on your turn that isn't holding your action before it is triggered. If you perform an action on your turn that isn't holding your action before it is triggered, then that held action no longer occurs if it would be later triggered. Fuck, that sounds complicated too. How in the fuck do I phrase this? If it returns to your turn again in the following round, your held action has not been triggered, you may continue to hold the action with the same trigger or change the trigger to a new one simply by declaring you're opting to do so and sacrificing the appropriate action on your turn. Once a held action has been triggered, once a held action has been once a held action has been triggered, or if you decide to perform another action on your turn, you must use another I'm so confused as to how to word this, but I don't think it really needs to be stated. Yeah, it's fine how it is. Okay. People hopefully understand how holding an action works. Okay, combat checks. So this is another one that I really like how it works in this system, and I'm really proud of it. So in D&D, you have your armor class. There's a specific number you calculate for all of your defenses, and it's this static, unchanging, most of the time, number that is basically a target that an attacker either needs to basically meet or beat excuse me, in order to deal damage to you. I like things to be a little more dynamic than that, and to essentially always give the players and the enemies a chance to hit somebody, to succeed. So that essentially no matter how high something's defenses may be, it's never going to be like an outright impossibility. Like if you just come across something that has like a crazy high AC, and like just with everything you roll, like you're just not going to be able to hit it unless you like crit and automatically hit. I didn't really like that. I like more chance to be involved. So how combat works in the Last Ingress is you don't have an armor class. You don't have a specific number that you need to meet or beat in order to successfully deal damage to something. There is, but it isn't static. It can... Hold on. Winter, quit it. Come here, baby. Oh, there she is. There's my pretty girl. I can't have you knocking Daddy's camera and lights over. I can't. You can sit in the comfy chair, though. So there are attack and defense checks. Basically, anytime you are the target of an attack, or you are the one attacking, you make a roll, And the thing that's attacking you, or the thing you are attacking, also makes a roll. And the success of the attack is determined by those two results. If you're the one being attacked and your defense check is higher than their attack check, congratulations. You've defended against the attack in one way or another and will likely not take damage. Again, vice versa, if you're attacking something and your attack check is higher than their defense check, congratulations. You're likely going to deal damage to them. Or rather, you are likely going to deal damage to them. Again, this way, it's, even if you have a +1 to your attack and the enemy has a +9 to their defense, if they roll, there's still a chance. They can still roll low, and you can still roll high. And I like that a lot more than just being like, oh, didn't get that number. Okay. So, combat checks. Attack check. When you use an action to attack, you make an attack check. Most attack checks are a standard action to perform. Your attack check total equals 1d12 plus an attribute score. The Last Ingress isn't 1d20. It's not 3d6. It's not a dice pool. It is 1d12. 1 12-sided die. It was kind of a spur-of-the-moment decision, and again, something that initially was just as the decision of, I don't want to be Dungeons & Dragons. I didn't want my game to just be another D20 game that was thrown out there with the rest. So the small thing I attempted to set myself different than everybody else was, okay, I'll do a D12 system. And I have loved it so far. Not only because there's some weird cosmic thing that I just roll really well with D12s. I don't really feel like the D12 gets a lot of love. It isn't really used a lot in systems besides like a higher end damage die. It isn't really used a lot. So I wanted to try and give it some spotlight. And I've loved it because it has the feeling of a D20 system, but it's a lot more, not strict, but just contained. You still have a good range of numbers, but it isn't going to be like, I have a 20, I got a 16, plus 9, and then, this and that. It's basically the maximum, unless other things are involved in this game, like the max you're going to get ever possible is like 22. Because the attributes in this game only go up to a 10. So at most, besides like magic items or other things that may give you a bonus, is going to be like between 22 to like 25 at most, maybe. Sorry, I thought I heard some scratching. And that kind of helps keep everything, from getting like too crazy in one direction or the other. So yeah, basically an attack check is going to be a D12 plus whatever your attribute score that you're using for the attack is. And defense checks are essentially the opposite of that. When you're the target of an attack, you make a defense check to see if you successfully avoid the attack in some way. Your defense check total equals a D12 plus an attribute score. A defense check must be greater than an attack check to successfully defend. Oh, it wasn't scratching. There's actual rain happening. And here I am like a dumbass listening to artificial rain. In the event of a tie between the attack and defense check, the attack is successful, but it deals half the total damage, if any. Damage check. If your attack is successful, you roll a damage check. Your total damage equals your size's damage dice plus the same modifier used for the attack. For spells, the damage is decided by its tier and consulting the magic check table, which, like, magic is its whole other thing. Choosing an attribute score. In the above section on combat checks, the text reads, an attribute score when formulating your attack, defense, or damage check total, but it doesn't specify which attribute score to use. This is because, unlike many other RPGs, this one does not hold certain types of attacks or defenses to specific attributes you must use. The general rule is, if you can use any score to attack or defend, as long as it can be realistically justified, you can use any score to attack or defend as long as it can be realistically justified for your character and the situation. And I do go into some examples, but to give you one plainly. So the Last Ingress has 4 attribute scores. Again, one of the other kind of design pillars for this was simplified. To me, the best amount that I got was 4. D&D has 6. Some other games have as few as like 3, even like 2. Like I've seen ones that are just like literally like mind, body, that's it. Which is fine. But I think that's a little too constricting. So the Last Ingress has 4. Power, celerity, intellect, and appeal. How strong you and your body are, how dexterous and nimble you are, how powerful your mind is, how observant you are, and your ability to withhold and consume information, and the power of your personality. And I think that's enough. I think that's pretty good. So given those 4 scores, again, things like Dungeons and Dragons kind of lock in, like, oh, you are using a longsword, you use strength. You're using a bow, you use dexterity. I didn't want to confine those sorts of things in the Last Ingress, so, in basically every situation, as long as you can reasonably justify it, you can use any score for whatever check you're attempting to do. Some things may be specific, or rather your story master may tell you to make a specific check, or you may give a suggestion, say like, can I use power to do, can I make a power check to do this thing? And then be like, well, that'd be more celerity. Then it's, okay, you just gotta listen to him. Or rather have a come to an amicable agreement about it. So basically you have the freedom to justify it. Unless the given situation says otherwise. So like there may be, if something, so big is coming down on you and they're, and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to use celerity for my defense check to try and like roll out of the way. Like the story masters be like, there isn't any like dodging this thing. You have to use power to, basically see if you can like resist the weight of like whatever this is. So it won't always be up to you, but you do have a choice most of the time. And so that's why, again, like attack, defense, and damage checks are just, basically your die plus the attribute score that you're using. Movement. Your base movement speed in feet is determined by your lineage, which is essentially this game's version of race. Your celerity score also affects how fast you move. For every 2 points above 5, you gain an additional 5 feet of movement. If your celerity score is below 0, however, you lose 5 feet of movement. And here's the other thing about movement that I really wanted to make sure to put in the game to make it feel less turn-based-y. You can move up to your move speed during the entirety of the round, not just on your turn. However, if moving during another's turn, you can only do so at the end of one of their actions, as in off-turn action. So again, for example, let's say on your turn, like the enemy you're facing is right in front of you, so you didn't really have to move, so you just used your your action to attack them, and then that was it. But later on during the round, situations change, and you need to move from wherever you were. Instead of having to wait until it comes back to your turn, you can say, hey, I'm going to use my off-turn action to move, X amount of feet. So there you go. It makes the whole thing a little more... It makes combat flow a little more realistically, more cinematically, and doesn't pigeonhole you into, like, oh, I have to wait until my turn before I can move again. That whole trope of, like, like, hey, you need to... it's like, hey, get over here, and it's like, sorry, it's not my turn. It's like, I don't know, I can't move. This goes into the size categories and the spaces they take up and how far their reach is. So the size categories are, as you can see, tiny, small, medium, large, heavy, and huge. I need to actually double check the huge reach because I think I may have changed it. I also need to add range to this as well because that is important and should also be referenced here. So you know what? Let's do that right now. Because reach and range are different things. Can I duplicate a tab? Can I just, nope, okay. Come on. Come on. People don't need to see this. This goes into my login screen. I'll have to change that a little bit. It's just not working now. Okay. I'll just pull it up on my phone then. There's something I need to reference earlier in the document, but I don't want to keep like scrolling back and forth. So I was trying to pull it up again in another tab, but you know what? I'll just pull it up on my phone because of the cloud. Classes. Okay. Range is 60 feet. I believe that's also 60 feet. Medium is 90 feet. Large is 90 feet. Heavy is also 90 feet, and then huge is 120 feet. I think I'm also going to change this to 15. Okay. Some of you may be looking at this and thinking, why would you ever choose any size category besides huge? Because it has the biggest reach and the farthest range. Because, as you can see from their space, they are enormous, and you're not always going to be in a situation where you can have something that big. The other thing is that a huge summon or weapon, because those are the two things that depend on a size category. Hello, Nova. So their damage die is a D20, which is incredible. However, because of that, the rule that's in the book as well is that something that is in the huge size category can only attack as a full turn action. So, if you're attacking on your turn and using that big old D20, that's all you're doing on your turn. It's not all you can do. Like, huge things in the huge size category can still move and have quick actions and all that other stuff. Just not on the same turn if they're attacking, essentially due to their size. So that's the balance. Okay. Reach. The reach of any given creature or weapon of a certain size is how far it can attempt a melee attack against a target. Tiny, small, and medium creatures and weapons have a reach of 5 feet. Large... well, see, now I have to change this. Large and heavy. Creatures and weapons have a reach of 10 feet. And those in the huge size category have a reach of 15 feet. Seeing as I have a specific thing for reach and not range, should probably make one for that too. Reach. Let's just take this. And we'll just edit the words. The range. The range. The range of any given creature or weapon of a certain size is how far away it can attempt a ranged attack against a target. Tiny and small. Creatures and weapons have a range of 60 feet. Medium, large, and heavy creatures and weapons range of 90. And those in here have a range of 120. Damage types. All damage that is dealt in the game is one of two types: physical or magical. A wielder's weapon and a caller's call. A wielder's weapon and a caller's call's attacks are normally considered physical damage, even though the weapon and creatures themselves are considered magical. They can still deal magical damage, however, when using their chosen element in some way as a magical attack. So this was a change as well, and something I debated on for a long time because, so in this game, in the world of the Last Ingress, there are 7 elements: fire, water, earth, air, nature, light, and dark. And basically, so again, the 3 classes are the caster, which has their own separate thing they deal with in terms of magic and spells and things of that nature. But callers and wielders, which are the other 2, are much more similar in terms of their design within the game. They're the ones that worry about size category. And the other thing is, unlike casters, who can potentially manipulate and wield all of the elements, as well as other things, they have their weapon or their call, which is the term used for the summon or summoned creature. And that is infused with an element, a choice of one of those 7. And so it used to be that there were essentially damage types. There were 3 physical damage types, and then 7 magical damage types. And that started to get complicated and a little bloaty. So I basically just narrowed it down to because at the end of the day it was like damage types are either physical or magical, and that's it. It's kind of a debate. Because while yes, at the time it felt like bloat, it also means you can get a little more specific when dealing with defenses, when making creatures, because so the original 3 physical damage types were bashing, cutting, and piercing. Those were all under the physical umbrella, and then, like I said, magical are essentially the 7 elements. Although there also, again, used to be a thing saying, like, you could still take a physical damage from one of the magical damage types, because like you could still take physical fire damage, because just because you're being burnt by something doesn't mean it's inherently magical. You can still get burnt by regular fire. So again, that's where things just like kind of started to get complicated, and I was just like, you know what, there's physical damage and magical damage. So the upside is it's less to worry about. The complication comes in with, well, now everything is just one of 2 things, and sometimes it isn't essentially black and white, because you could have a creature, for example, who has like a chitinous armor, like an exoskeleton, and maybe that would naturally, be resistant to a sword, cutting damage, but maybe bashing damage would affect it regularly or affect it more. Well, that's not really an option anymore, because both of those things were under the umbrella of physical, which is now just one thing, and so you're just saying, oh, well, it's resistant to physical damage. So that's kind of where that debate is coming in, and I'm not sure what I want to do about that. Which is why I wish some people were here. so I could bounce some of those ideas off of them. Actually, someone said they were going to be here. Let me check up on them, actually. Oh, no, they were talking about the other day. I'm just going to put this out there because I need to. Because I want to be very open on this channel, on this stream, and I want to be very candid. And I had a very bad mental health day yesterday. I had a very bad bout of depression that was kind of affecting my whole day. I was supposed to play D&D last night, and I didn't because of how my mood was, and I didn't want that affecting the game. So I backed out for the evening. I am starting to get into that mindset once again of wondering what the fuck I'm doing right now. Because I know I am a small streamer. I've only been doing this for almost a month now. Which is no fucking time at all, especially on a platform with thousands of people who are also streaming right now. Probably doing better and more entertaining things. And that's fine. I don't expect to have... I really don't expect to have a lot of people here. But by this point, I do kind of expect to have at least somebody. Well, great. I'm gonna shut the fuck up because I do have a friend who's gonna be coming in soon. But yeah, maybe this relaxing music is actually just making me more melancholy or something. I don't know, but I don't know if it's that or just how my mental health has been this week. But I'm starting to get those same thoughts and feelings I did the last time I attempted streaming, which is, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I talking about this? Why am I trying to do this? Why am I putting in so much effort towards this if no one's fucking here? If all of this is just kind of going out into the ether and I'm not I'm just kind of wondering what the fucking point is. I hope it'll get better. Kind of as we get more people. Sorry, just give me a second. I have a really big fear. Generally speaking, all of the fucking time, because I have anxiety and I worry about everything constantly and I'm never able to relax. My biggest fear in life is being forgotten. Or I'm so worried that I'm going to die and no one's going to remember me for anything besides just kind of being a nice, goofy, funny guy. And I know that that isn't true. I know I have a very... I have an extensive network of people who care about me and love me, and I know that. I know I will be remembered for more than that. But I want to be remembered by more people for something. And maybe that's narcissistic. I just want this to do well. I just want it to be fucking done. Let's start there. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to fall into that. Like I said, I do want to be open and candid on this stream. And part of that is being honest with you guys when my mental health isn't doing great. And I apologize if anyone is coming back and watching this at any point, and is seeing all of this. But this is where I'm at in this moment. Is I kind of just had this small slip of mental health of like, it's just those intrusive thoughts again of like, I've been live now for an hour and a half. Nobody's watching. And no one has said anything in chat. So I just kind of keep wondering who the fuck I'm talking to. Mana actually put it in a nice perspective for me because I brought that up either just before I started streaming again or like right after, and I told her that I was having those thoughts of like, that's why I quit the first time of you know, having these exact thoughts of like, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I acting like people are here if nobody's here? And they said, it's good practice. And I was like, practice for what? And they were like, it's practice for when you do have a community. Get into those habits of still acting like that, of, you know, doing your streaming thing for when it does become whatever it is you want it to be. And I really liked that. It was a lot of help, and you know, I think it gave me a proper enough mindset to continue doing this and to push me past these kinds of moments whenever I have them. I am exceptionally lucky to have the partner that I do. And I know that every fucking day. So I really thank them for that. And I hope this is just kind of a one moment in... Hi, Hunter. You honestly weren't even... Look at Abby, too. Thanks, man. That really means a lot. Thank you. Seriously. I don't know when you came in, but is kind of having a moment that I'm sure a lot of streamers do, especially starting off. You know, it was... maybe you've had this moment on stream too. I don't know if you have, but I literally just popped in and typed nerd before I listened to whatever was going on. Great. And then I heard it was like, oh no, be sweet. Yeah. No, I kind of had, so I'll repeat some stuff again. I won't go into my whole fucking emotional thing, but, today's been fine. Yesterday wasn't a great mental health day for me. And I kind of had a moment there briefly where I slipped into that mindset, those intrusive thoughts of like, hey, you've been streaming for an hour and a half now. Literally no one's been watching. There hasn't been anything in chat. What the fuck are you doing? Who are you talking to? Why are you doing this? Just end stream now. It's not going to make a difference to anybody. And so I just kind of had to stop for a moment and vocalize that just to get it out. And remind myself of everything that Mana has told me. And just, again, keeping in mind that I've been doing this for 1 fucking month. And it's just going to take time. So, that was basically it. Just a small 10-minute existential crisis, just to get it out of the way. To take a deep breath, keep smiling, and keep going. Because the other kind of thing was, like, you can see, like, I'm working on the Last Ingress again, and, like, some of the things I was doing kind of not required, but would be assisted by input. And obviously I was, like I said, like, you're the first person here. So I just wasn't getting any feedback, and just an hour and a half of just, like, not getting anything. I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Dude, I still have a full 8-hour streams with no one in it. There are also streams where I have 3 to 5 people the whole time. Promise it'll get better, but the first, like, year of streaming is the roughest from what other streamers have told me. I've been at it for, like, 8 months. Yeah, so, like, and that's, I try to pop into yours when I can. I know I haven't in a bit, which I do apologize for. Though sometimes it is just because, like, I'll see you'll go live at, like, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, which I know is because of your schedule, but that's usually when I'm, like, going to bed. So I do try to catch it. But yeah, like, that's anytime I'm like, like, oh, what am I doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know, as far as I remember, I think you're at the affiliate level. And I'll still, like, pop in sometimes and see, like, oh, I'm, like, the only person here. There's only, like, 2 people here. So even with, that, like, 50 followers, like, that doesn't guarantee shit. Yeah, sometimes I don't get home till late and just pop on. Yeah, and that's, I get that. You are very much a, you just stream when you're able to / when you want to. And that works for you, and it's fine. I need to check your channel. I don't know if you have, like, a set schedule, and I'm just missing it. But if you ever need to talk about stream first, please feel free to call it text. I will. Yeah. Like I said, like, I think I'm, like, this week will be a month for me. So, this is really, like, honestly, like, the first moment that I really have been, like, that I just kind of got hit with that intrusive thought wave again. I've had, on average, like, 1 to 2 people, again, sometimes days like this where, in this month, I have had streams where it's just literally been me the entire time. And, I'll end those streams, and I'll, like, go talk to Mana or whatever, and they're like, how did it go? I'll just be like, no one was there. And, most of the time they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And, I appreciate it. And yes, of course, I wish people would have been here. But what I keep telling myself, not as any sort of convincing, but just because it's true, and what I keep telling them is, that's fine. I would have been doing that anyways. Like, and that's, like, I've just, I don't consider myself, like, a gaming streamer or this streamer or, this and that, because, one, I don't want to be in, like, any one specific category, but also, like, I don't want to just do one specific thing either. Like, streaming for me is just, I'm going live doing whatever I would have been doing with my evening anyways. So it's like, I might as well do it live. On the off chance other people come in and also have fun watching me do it, and the eventual possibility of like making it, you know, a revenue. I don't have a set schedule due to my job, which you know how it is. Yeah, which I'm very lucky that like my job is like a very like set schedule thing. Um, yeah, so I try to pop in whenever I see you go live, but since it is like so, you know, random just based on your shit, it's just like within the last like couple weeks, like it's just been like, oh, Hunter went live. Well, I'm either about to go to sleep or about to do this thing. It's just been really bad timing on my end. Um, Also, I understand when you can't make it. I go to bed around 10. I also see busy, and they're also busy person otherwise. So yeah, I do because like anytime I also have, you know, again those thoughts of like, you know, oh, my friends are always so supportive until it's time to be supportive, and then they're not fucking there, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, like I'm not gonna put that on anybody else because I do the same thing. Like I try and be as supportive as I can, but if I tried to go to every person's stream every time they streamed for everybody I know, or if I tried to support everybody I knew in all of their projects, I wouldn't have time for myself. Like, I wouldn't be able to do anything else. Well, speaking of my stream, I was about to stream Overwatch if you want to join. And join and play and swap to that on your stream. I want to keep it till I know worries. You know, you are fine. Go do your thing. So here soon, hopefully this weekend, Mana and I are actually going to be switching rooms because our the router and modem are in their room because it has to be because we got AT&T's fiber, and it can only go through that room. Like that was literally the only room they could install it in. So I've been having really bad connection issues, even with my PlayStation being as close as it is, like in here. So I'm kind of staving off streaming online games until I can move into that room and get like a hardline connection. Because it's just, I tried Overwatch twice now, and I tried a day of Paladins, and each time, like, my connection's been shit, and I've been crashing, and, like, that just isn't fun. So I'm waiting until that to like, get back into everything again. What's up, P's and S's? That's what used to be the guest bedroom, right? Yeah, so you know my house. So the room that I'm streaming in, like, that's my office right now, is what used to be one of the guest rooms. This is the room that's like, when you come to, this is the room that's across from the bathroom. Her room is the room at the very back, which is also technically the guest room because it has the second bed in it. So we are swapping so that the back room is the office again, because it did used to be. And then they're going to move their stuff into this room. So once that's done, and I can for sure get a good internet connection, a good stable internet connection, while also streaming, that's when I'll like pick up, like, you know, Overwatch and stuff again. But yeah, man, thanks for stopping by, and you know, thanks for the support and the kindness and everything. So have fun on yours. I promise this time I will, whenever I end my stream, I will actually raid yours. I won't just say I'm going to and then like go offline and completely forget that I was going to do that. So have fun playing Overwatch. Maybe able to get Mana in with you, actually. They may be home. I thought I heard them, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe check with them. They were playing earlier. But yeah, you have fun, man. Have fun on your stream. Thanks for coming by. Uh, Crudy Face, I see that you're here. Can you tell me what P's and S's is supposed to mean? Because you said and. If you said P's of S's, I could piece that together. Are you calling everybody poops and shits? Is that what's going on? Oh, you know what? While I'm sitting here waiting for you to reply, I need to check something too. Pizzes and shits. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, thank God. Still gonna be here, just gonna mute in the tab. Pro tip, if you want to lurk a stream, don't mute the stream itself, mute the tab. If you mute the stream itself, Twitch doesn't count it as a view. Really? I guess that is their way of like getting over people doing that exact thing of just opening a tab and then muting it, just to like get views to come up. Dude, I just saw your post in your Discord, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Twitch is a bitch. Yes. I was debating because I was like, well, they don't pay me yet, so do I wait until they're paying me to tell them how shitty they are? Because fuck it, they're paying me. Or do I say that now because fuck it, they're not paying me? But yeah, Twitch is a bitch. It's they are selective with their rules depending on who is the one breaking them and how much money they make them. Which is what I'll say. Because I don't make them any money yet, and therefore they can do whatever the fuck they want to my channel. But yeah, man, thanks a lot for the shout out on your server. That means a lot. All right. All right. How do you mute a tab, by the way? Is that just a Chrome thing? Because, like... Nope, I see how to do it. I see how to do it. Because I'm... Dude, okay. I was going to say both of you, but... Logan, I forgot you don't own a PC. I lost my tiny Japanese mechanical pencil sharpener. So? No, I get it. I would be sad if I lost that, like, really specific art thing that I was needing. Especially if it was Japanese. Yeah, but Hunter, I don't know what you use. I've been using Opera. And I really like it. Like, they build it as, like, the gamers, web browser, which, like, it is. It has a lot of integration with, like, games and Steam and all that sort of stuff. But the performance on it is fucking great because Chrome eats memory like an intellect devour. Am I right? I really like it. It has a really nice design. It has a lot of customization features and everything. I really like it. I've been using it for a couple months now. I've ever heard of it. Can you show me on your stream? Technically I am. But I can... Yes. Great. That didn't work. Let me try and... So, like, when you boot it up, nothing fucking happens. I honestly, I don't know if it's doing this because I'm streaming or something and it has some thing. I'll just look it up, man. It's called Opera. I like it. That's my sales pitch. Opera. I like it. Oh, you know, if you want to see it by someone who's actually sponsored by them, go on YouTube and look up Jimmy here. Some of his recent You Laugh You Lose videos, he's sponsored by them, so he has like a sponsorship thing like in the middle of it. Well, I'm sold. Hey, fucking tell them that. I don't know. I forget who made Opera. But yeah, send them an email telling them that, hey, this streamer on Twitch told me about you guys, and I really like it, so you should sponsor him. Because why wouldn't a large corporation give a streamer with an average viewership of 1.66? Yeah, why wouldn't they sponsor me? I could give them so much traffic. So many clicks. Anyways. Yeah, there's my sponsorship of Opera. I'll check it out later for the next 8 minutes. I'm gonna. Yeah, you're good, man. Okay. Small 20-minute tangent about mental illness and existential considerations and web browsers. Let's get back into the RPG design, shall we? So I need your help. Chat, Logan. So what I was doing before you guys got on. So I'm discussing and going over the combat system. And so I got to the section about the damage types. So as you can see, you know, like basically there are just two damage types. You're either dealing physical or magical damage, which is new. Hi, Nova. Hi. So it's either physical or magical damage, and for the moment, that's it. It's like literally just those two damage types, depending on what you're doing. It didn't used to be that way, which I think you knew. I think it was like that way whenever you played, which I know was like a fucking year ago, and you don't remember. I barely remember. Madam? Sorry, hold on. Do you need to go potty? I don't actually know if Mana's here or not. Do you have to go potty? Okay. I have to go let Nova out, but what I'm going to leave you with, so that hopefully I have some feedback whenever I get back. So it's just physical and magical right now. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be, those were just the two umbrellas of the types of damage. So there was physical damage, which was bashing, cutting, and piercing. And then you had magical damage, which were essentially the 7 elements: fire, water, earth, air, nature, light, and dark. I thought that was too bloated, so I constricted it down to basically things just being physical or magical, which is easier for the sake of game flow, because it's just, oh, it's either this or that. The problem is that I think it's become too restricting in terms of design, because let's say there's a creature you're fighting that has, like an exoskeleton or like chitinous armor. Well, you could design it to say, that it would be, it would have some damage reduction or resistance to cutting damage, but maybe takes normal damage or extra damage from like bashing damage. That wouldn't be possible anymore, seeing as that it would just be physical. So you either have to decide whether it has resistances to it or not. Like it's a black and white, yes or no, 1 or 0. And then the also conflicting thing is, when there were those, 10 different damage types, because there were also ways you could take a physical form of one of the elemental types of damage. So, for example, physical fire damage, because not every time that your character gets burned necessarily means that it's from a magical source. So you could take, like I said, like physical fire damage. But again, in this instance, like it would just be physical or magical. So let's say you had a creature, like a fire elemental. Well, obviously they would be, probably like immune to fire damage. Well, now you have to just say like, okay, well, it's immune to, you can't say like, oh, it's immune to fire damage because it's either physical or magical now. So then you would have to say physical fire. But then like, oh, but then this fire elemental who is living magical fire can be harmed by magical fire. So then it's like, oh, well, okay, then it's immune to magical damage. Well, then it's like, okay, so then it's also immune to magical water, magical, dark, magical nature, things like that. So what I'm going to leave you with for a couple minutes as I go take Nova out is, should it stay only physical or magical and just figure out a way to design around that for the simplicity, or go back to having 10 different damage types for the design flexibility, but just also keeping in mind that that's like a lot of different things and potential bloat. That is what I will leave you with. I will be right back. I have to take my dog out. Okay. All right, hey, I'm back. I'm not ready yet though. To get right back into it. I came back and just the display for the browser just wasn't working anymore. So I'm resetting the browser itself to see if that'll work. So I got to get all that set up again. Um, yeah. So I read through your comments. And yeah, so how it worked before, it wasn't like it was just um those 10 damage types and then it had to be like individual resistances or whatever to those things. It was essentially both. There were those 10 types overall, but they were still split into the category of physical and magical. And so in monster design, creature design, like those sorts of things, whenever it came to the like damage reduction category, it would specify, this thing is, resistant to, fire or would specify like physical fire or whatever it may be. But if it had a general resistance to all of that type, then it would just say that. Like if it was resistant to all three types of physical damage, it would just say physical, or like it would say physical damage. I guess at the time I had a wave of, again, where I was going through and like oversimplifying and everything, and I think that was just a victim of that. But I think that's something I do kind of need to go back on. My browser just isn't working. Which is great for when I need it to. When it, just doesn't. Okay. Well, that isn't a whelp of like, well, I'm ending stream. I can still pull it up in Chrome. Just give me a second to set all that up now. How's your day been, buddy? How have you been today? Was work okay? Was work all right today? How's your guys' weather? I don't know if like the like extreme thunderstorms that we're apparently supposed to be getting like stretch all the way up there or not. Yeah, the Pokemon comparison was saying that attack versus special attack was like your physical versus magical, and all of the types were like your categories, or at least that's what my man-child brain uses to understand. No, that's a very good comparison because it basically is exactly that. So I was saying you could have just the two options of A, just using physical and magical, or B, using the full set. Yeah, so again, like I think I'll just go back to essentially having both of there is physical and magical damage, and those are the categories. Within them, you have the individual damage types of bashing, cutting, and piercing, and also fire, water, earth, air, nature, light, and dark. Another opinion question, because this was something that obviously came up in one of the games we were playing, and it came up. Why the fuck is this happening now? What do you mean? Am I still live? Because now Chrome just isn't fucking, like, it's pulling up, but like it's basically acting like I don't have a fucking internet connection, which it should, because I'm live. And I know I have the internet because I need the internet to stream. Okay, I'm going to try one last thing. I'm going to try Firefox, which I also have. Um, what in the fuck was I talking about? Dog. Um, oh no, this isn't working either. I don't know if you can still hear me. Firefox is now full screen and crashed. Why is this stream suddenly so scuffed as soon as I have people here? What in the fuck is going on? Um, okay, yeah. Oh, what I was saying is, uh, necromantic damage. Um, I was trying to figure out what element worked best with it. And what I decided on was nature. Uh, anytime a caster used the school of necromancy to cause damage, we said it was nature damage as the magical element, because none of the other ones really fit. Dark was obviously a thought, but I didn't want the reason I didn't was because I didn't want like every fucking like magical evil creature to be using the dark element, because it's very prevalent in the actual like stigma, those creatures, and also because it is a twist of nature. The nature element itself is more along the concept lines of like plants and that sort of thing. But I also felt like necromancy fell into that because it's also it's rot, it's decay, it's taking something, like the necromancy magic is taking biology and harming it and breaking it down, and that felt more nature to me than it did dark. I didn't want to oversaturate enemies with using the dark element, so I was going to say dark, but actually, yeah, nature makes perfect sense. Okay, cool. Okay, so Firefox isn't working either. Close. Don't send a report. I have no fucking clue what's going on with my browsers. Yeah, so Opera just isn't opening. Firefox will open crashing, and Google Chrome will open, but act like I don't have an internet connection. So calling it nature makes me think of the inevitability of death and bodies decomposing back into the earth. Okay, so good. My intuition on that was correct. As once again, it is with most things involving the Last Ingress, but I always second guess myself. So it is good to have it justified. Do I have any other options to try? Let me see if I still have Edge. I'm going to try opening Microsoft Edge. Let's dust that one off, huh? Okay. It opened. And crashed. Okay. Let me see if I have any options. PC, all internet browsers crash. Okay, all browsers crashing on Windows 10, which I believe is what I have. Yeah, whatever. All of your web browsers crown for the freeze and crash Windows 10. Not to worry, the issue is an easy fix. The problem can be caused by corrupted system files. You can run the Windows 10 built-in system file checker tool to detect and repair corrupted files. Maybe. Run a malware scan. Update your device drivers. Reset network settings. Okay. I'm going to try running the system checker thing, and hopefully it works. Bear with me. Control R, CMD, Control Shift Enter. Yes. Command prompt, type the following command in the press enter. SFC space slash scan now. Well, here we are. Wow. Beginning verification phase of system scan. 2% complete. This may take some time. It's currently 2%, 3% complete. Four. So that was a good, what, minimum 10 seconds? 15 to 20 seconds between each. Okay, you know what? Well, that was kind of the whole stream. Was to be working on that. Yeah, me too. Isn't this fucking entertaining? Well, I kind of had another hour to kill. But none of my browsers are working. I'm looking at my options here. Drawing stream. Oh, yes, actually, that's what I was going to do today. Yeah. Let me. Yeah, let me. Let me. I'll be right back. Can you hear me now? Because if so, I understand what the problem was. I'm also going to... I need to change something on my iPad, so I'm going to transition again real quick and fix the... oh, okay. Never mind. No, I don't. Okay. Okay. All right. So here's what happened. Uh, Here are the two problems. When I went to this scene, it didn't have the source input for my microphone because the last time I used this, I didn't have to have that. And I changed it since then, so I haven't gone back to add it in. So I added the microphone, and I can see, my audio capture, and I can see the waveform and, see that the mic was working. So then I really didn't know why you weren't hearing me, because I was like, I added the microphone. The program I am using to stream, called Streamlabs, has a thing called studio mode that you can activate that when you do, it shows you your editing bay, like what your stream will look like, and then your live, which is what is actually being streamed. Right now, they look identical, which they would, because you have to hit a button to transition it. Basically, studio mode is for when you need to edit things live, but don't want people to see what the other thing is. You're familiar with... Okay, so you're familiar with Streamlabs, maybe even know what studio mode is. Because nothing visual changed, I forgot to hit transition, which would apply the change that I had added the audio input capture. I hit transition, and we are now with the mic. So, I will also repeat what I've now repeated twice, because I thought you would hear me both times. When I got back, and I put this up, and it's right where it's at, and this is going to be one of the... You're not going to find this as funny as I did whenever I said it. It just... I hope you do, but I don't think you will, because it feels like one of those moments of it's not as funny if I'm just saying it again versus it happening naturally. When I got the drawing up to here, I noticed I hadn't filled in the pupils yet. So what my brain thought was, oh shit, I haven't filled in the pupils. What I said out loud just naturally was, it's not that funny when I'm retelling it. I said, oh shit, did I fart? And that shit just has been, like, that joke, that I'm shitting and farting thing has been piercing into my funny bone for like the last 3 weeks. It's just been getting me. It's been so fucking funny to me. And me just sitting here meaning to say that other thing and then just saying, oh shit, did I fart? It got to me, and I'm so fucking upset that it didn't happen naturally, and I've had to retell it fucking twice now, and you only being able to hear it once. That was it. That was the whole fucking thing. That was oh shit, did I fart? Instead of saying, oh shit, I didn't color in the pupils. That was the joke. That was what was so funny. Okay, so what I was actually going to do, instead of just... sitting here in fucking silence. Because that would be awkward. Um, actually, cancel that. Um, it's it's making a Borat voice back from the dead pass. I think it's funnier that you told that story like 4 times. Yeah, because it's so like it's just dumb. It's just stupid. Um. Oh, I forgot. God damn it! That's the other thing I forgot to do. Hold on. I forgot to add the chat box. Let's move it down. Actually. Okay. And transition. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get some music going because the last thing I think anyone would want to watch is just me literally just sitting here in silence drawing. Media source. I can't hear the music that's playing. So let me know if it's too loud. It's like hitting right in the middle of the green for me. But let me know. Okay. Don't I know I was just saying that. Let me know how it sounds now. If it's too loud or not. Or if it's too quiet. Whatever it is. I have yet to have a not scuffed stream. There hasn't been a single stream so far that something hasn't either gone wrong before or during stream. And I'm just ready for that to stop. Like, if it was part of the entertainment value, that'd be one thing, but I'd be interested in you narrating what you're doing as well when you think about it. Just hearing why you're making the decision you're making, I think, would be interesting. Okay. You don't know, you don't hear music. For fuck's sake. Okay. God damn it. Okay. Well, let me try one fucking other thing then. Audio output capture. Let's do that. Oh, maybe it was just because I didn't hit transition. Fuck. Okay, hold on. I'm so bad at streaming. Where am I? What about it? Media source. Add source. Add source. Okay, so that's going. Now let me hit transition. Now you should be hearing it. Tell me if not. But also, if so, if the sound levels are fine with the music going and me talking. If you can't hear anything, I'm going to try one other thing. And if you can hear it, and I just need to adjust the levels, then we'll do that too. Really hoping it's working. Mostly just because I want it to fucking work, but also because otherwise I'm yet again just sitting here in silence waiting for the delay to catch up to wherever you are. And then waiting for the reply to come in and then responding to it that way. So I bring up the music just a little bit. Okay. But it's there now. Okay. All right. Well, that should be good where it's at. It's hitting middle green. And when I talk, my voice is peaking over that, so should be good. Okay. Sorry, I'm doing one more thing. I'm doing one more thing. Sounds good. Okay, cool. Please work. Please just work. Sorry, I know this, like, just give me a second. Nothing isn't working. I'm setting something up to be fucking stupid. Little more. Little more. A little more. There we go. That's perfect. Hopefully things will work better now. All right. I was setting up that close-up is what I was doing. Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?